And welcome once again to the second new episode this week of the Horizon Roundtable. I am Bob McDonald. You can find me on Twitter, of course, like I ever had a choice, at Bob McDonald. And joining me via phone this week from a far-off location somewhere in Wisconsin is my co-host Jimmy Lemke.
Hello, everybody. I am in a holding cell, and just kidding. I'm with friends in northern Wisconsin, and by northern I mean northern for Milwaukee. I'm outside of Wausau, so not even as north as Green Bay, but yeah.
And Jimmy, of course, is on Twitter at PantherU, and you can follow us on you can follow the podcast on Twitter as well at
Horizon RT.
Yeah, that's it. Because I haven't been saying that enough, and apparently I had a nice brain fart right before. And good time for that because right before our second big interview this week. The first episode we had was Scott Garrett, the new athletic director at Cleveland State, and coming up in this episode, and I know you're as excited about this as I am, is Oakland's head coach Greg Kampe. So I'm
very excited for this.
Yes, absolutely. So, before we get started, I want to thank Neil Rule for helping us set this up. Neil, as always, outstanding help for us. So,
thanks, Neil.
Yes. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into this interview. All right. So, Coach Kampe, thank you very much for joining us. Really excited to have you on the podcast.
No, it's my pleasure. I think it's awesome what you guys do, that, you're that committed to the Horizon League and the fan bases of touching each other. That I think that's really important in college athletics. So anytime I can help, I will.
Yeah, absolutely.
We appreciate that, Coach.
What's that, Jimmy?
I was just saying that we appreciate that. I mean, it's something that we'd like to bring more to the conference. It's kind of that sense of community, and this is just one of the things we can do to do that.
Yeah.
It's a great conference. It's been around for a long time, and a lot of big college names have gone through our conference. So it's something to be proud of and be part of.
Sure, and you're kind of and honestly, you're kind of the elder statesman because you're kind of the longest tenured of all the Horizon League coaches here. So that's always you've probably seen more than most.
Well, the Horizon League itself, and I think one of the reasons that the league took a little dip in basketball over the last couple of years is because we replaced a lot of coaches in the league. In fact, I think Oakland's the only school that hasn't replaced their coach in the last 5 years. So anytime you do that, you're going to take a dip because a new coach is going to come in with his own philosophy and start over and rebuild something. And I think now that we're getting a little more stable, that you're starting to see the schools all rise and will rise together. And I think the league will be back to a top 10 or 11 league pretty soon.
So, Coach, since you've touched on that, kind of what's your secret? I'm sure other coaches around the league would love to know your secret.
Bob, you're cutting out.
Am I? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So, Coach, can you let us in on your secret for the longevity, and again, also too, just your kind of consistency, having Oakland always seemingly at the top, always at the top half of the Horizon League standings.
Yeah, and that's what you try to do. I think I'm not a guy who believes that you put all your eggs in one basket, you try and have a great year, and then, you look for something better. I've just been somebody that believes you try and win every year and you try and do things the right way, and they'll all take care of itself. We've had a couple decades of really, really good basketball at Oakland. Now, since we got into the Horizon League, we have the one failure that we haven't been able to win the Horizon League tournament, and that's starting to wear on us a little bit. But, we have been I think we've a top 3 finish 5 of the last 6 years or something like that. So, we want to continue that, but we also understand in this day and age, man, the fans, all they care about is that NCAA tournament. And, it's amazing how the focus has changed on we've got to win the tournament from just being consistent and being good. So we understand that, and our day will come.
Sure. Now last year was last year, and I know I was one of them that there's a lot of the fans outside of the Horizon League. I know a couple of your fans, Matt Dudek being one of them, was like, yeah, this is definitely going to be a year. We didn't really know what to expect out of Oakland this year, and you guys really had an amazing year this past season. Just with all of your players kind of stepping up and really making a run for competing in the regular season.
Yeah, it was a very rewarding year. It was the biggest rebuild I've ever been a part of, and it just happened. We had all those injuries. We had the year before when we had that team that I thought could be just an unbelievable team. It started with Brechting breaking his foot in the opening exhibition game, and ended with Martez Walker going down with 4 games to go in the season, and we were playing walk-ons, and so when a season got lost like that, and all those seniors were graduating, you're coming back with nobody that's ever played significant minutes. Mm-hmm. I think there's a big question mark, and I would like to sit here and tell you, I knew we would be good, but I didn't either. I really wondered what would happen. But again, I think we have a really good base. Our program has been built on over a long period of time, and we have a good base. And I think that that we proved our worth last year. That we're not going away anywhere. We got to continue to strive to get better, like everyone else does, and compete every year. And again, we have not had great success in the Horizon League tournament, but in the Summit League before we came to the Horizon League, we had tremendous success in the Summit League tournament. So I'm sure we'll get back to it.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I would say to kind of piggyback on that, to ask a follow-up question is, you're building a program, and there's something that has become far more prevalent in recent years. Is there's just a lot more transfers than there used to be, both the fifth-year transfer and the early variety. I'm not talking about any specific players or anything, but how does that change the challenge of building a team that you try to win every year?
Right. Well, Jimmy, I think that's a tremendous question, and I actually met with my athletic director recently, and I told him that it's changed. I had watched this transfer thing happen, and it devastated Milwaukee a year ago. I mean, I think Milwaukee would have been a top 3 or 4 team. But it had never touched us. We'd lost players, but the players that had transferred from Oakland were people that I had brought in and said, I don't think you're going to play here much. And if I was your dad, I would tell you need to, we had never had what happened to you guys happen to us until this year. And now it's happened to us. And you look into that transfer portal and you see 700, 800 kids, and you see that we've created this free agency. And it's funny because the APR started with, okay, we don't want anybody transferring, so we're going to put this APR in, and you're going to be, if you run kids off and kids leave, you're going to be affected by it, and you're going to be punished by not being able to play in the NCAA tournament. And then they turn around and they open it up with this transfer portal. Well, a young man now, a player, doesn't have to come in my office. Both our kids left and got into the transfer portal without coming and seeing me face to face. They had left a message or a phone call. Where in the past you'd have to come in, you'd talk about it, I would have to release them. And because a couple of years ago there were some high-profile cases where I think was at Wisconsin, a kid wanted to transfer, and one from Pittsburgh to North Carolina. And the coaches were fighting it, not allowing them to go. Well, everybody said that's not fair or right. So the NCAA went to this portal. So all the kid has to do is throw his name in there, and it's like, okay, who wants me? There's no accountability. There's no anything. And I think now we've created something that it's gonna hit every program. And you, Jimmy, you understand it because your team was devastated by it. And we could have been devastated by it because Xavier Hill-Mays and Brad Brechting both could have done it too, as far as grad transfers go. And fortunately for Oakland and Oakland's fan base, they didn't. And
do you
now
find yourself? Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, do you find yourself kind of recruiting your own guys more, before you even know and think of them as possibly somebody who might leave?
Right. I'm gonna refuse to do that. All the other coaches are saying that, but damn it, you're here in our family. Why do I have to keep you in my family? It just, that doesn't make sense to me. One of the things, I thought I was smart. I thought I was ahead of the game, and as soon as the season was over, I had these 3 seniors come into my office, and I know that, it's unbelievable what's going on. Xavier Hill-Mays put up 30-some against Xavier, and within the next week, he had 3 or 4 schools calling him saying, "Hey, I hear you're going to be a grad transfer. We want you to come." It's November. We're still playing. It's just gotten completely out of control. Yeah. And somebody will call. I have some stories that are unbelievable that, of tampering and things like that, but that's what it is. So I had the 3 kids come in and I said, "Look, what's going on? Are you guys staying?" And they go, "What do you mean?" I go, "Well, I know people have reached out to you about leaving and being a grad transfers." And they go, "No, we're going to stay." I go, "Okay, we're going to put a press release out then so people quit calling you, and each one of you are going to make a statement of why you're staying." And they all came up with, we want to finish the job. We want to win the championship. We had a heartbreaking loss to end the season. It's as tough a loss as I've ever been part of. And so we were living off that loss, the emotion of that loss, and they all did it. We put that press release out. And a month later, one of them comes in and says, "I want to be a grad transfer." So people continued to get to these kids, got in their ears. Cumberland's, going to leave. He said to me, "I want to be a pro." And I go, "Well, Javen, the first 2 years you were here, you sat behind 2 NBA players, Kay Felder and Kendrick Nunn. Why can't you be a pro from Oakland? We've had 4 NBA players in the last decade. Why? Well, I want to play at the highest level." Well, we play Michigan State. We play Syracuse next year. But these people get in these kids' ears. And the problem with it is, those are the people in the ears aren't the one that have to live it. Javen had to look at Brad Brechting and Xavier Hill-Mays, his teammates, his family, his guys he's lived with for 4 years, and tell him he's walking away. It's just, there's nothing in life where, life's a team sport. I hope you would agree with me with that.
Sure.
And,
absolutely.
And Twitter world and all these worlds are going on there saying these kids should do what's best for them. These kids should do what they want to do. These kids aren't this, that's their talent. They should, and in theory, that's right. But what about the other 11, 12 guys on the team? Cumberland leaving our team hurts the team. And we don't teach that in life, do we? Is it our job to tell a kid you do what's best for you? Or is it our job to teach people to do what's best for the team? And because in life, are you going to just walk away from your family? Are you going to just walk away from your kids? Are you going to, you know what I'm saying? We're here to teach values that kids are going to take into their life. And so the world telling kids you need to leave and do what's best for you, that's great on Twitter, but that's not real life. And that's what worries me about what's happening.
So with that new reality, obviously, as you mentioned, Jimmy's had to live through this. I'm a Cleveland State fan. We were the poster child for this stuff for years.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It cost Gary Waters his job.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is.
That was, and I think in that case, it just seemed to me after 2015 happened, it was, I don't want to say it's like, he kind of looked at the writing on the wall and said, that's kind of it for me. I don't know. But not a day goes by that I don't hear the word grad transfer and I start having a conniption fit. But in these cases, I guess the question I have for you is, what's the adjustment like for that? You had the one grad transfer, and then you had another regular transfer, is Braden Norris, who was your starting point guard. How do you adjust your roster to kind of compensate for what you lost?
Yeah, and I I have no idea what happened with Braden. I mean, I was gone. He left a message. I called him back. He told me he was leaving. I've never got a chance to talk to him face to face. I don't know how you could be a freshman and where really no one else in the world recruited you, play 38 minutes a game and want something better. I'll never be able to understand that one, but it is what it is. How do you adjust?
He's the one that has to live it.
Yeah, that's a heck of a question. This is kind of a morbid simile, but as you guys, we talked about before the show started, we talked about the cancer, and I am really, really big into the trying to beat cancer, trying to find a cure for it. It's a life goal mission to be part of that, to raise money to do.
Sure.
And, everybody in the world will say, yeah, cancer is a terrible disease and we got to do something. But until it strikes close to home, until it's your best friend or your mother or your father or a family member or somebody that you're really close to it and you live it, you really don't know it or understand it. And I think the same thing's true with this transfer stuff. All these people that are saying, let them do it, it's easy from afar to say that, but once it strikes in your program and you see how it can devastate the other 11 guys on your team, then, something's going to be done. And I just don't have an answer right now. I'm trying to figure it out. I know that this is the way the world is today. Okay, this is it. We're going to live in college basketball in a free agency transfer type environment. Now, I have tried to come up with some answers for it. One of my answers, which isn't going to go, and you guys will probably laugh at this like other people have, but if you really step back and think about it. So everybody says coaches can leave. Why shouldn't players be able to leave, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's right. One of the things that you hear. Well, John Beeline just left Michigan. He didn't ask the players if he could go, Yeah. So my answer to that is this. Coaches leave, but they pay a price to leave. They pay a buyout when they leave.
Yeah.
So
mostly. Yeah.
I think Loyola Chicago should pay Oakland University the amount of money that we invested in Braden Norris. All right. So our scholarship that we gave Norris last year as an out-of-state student was probably worth $40,000. So I think Loyola Chicago has a decision to make. If they want our kid, they can have him, and Braden should be eligible right away. But Loyola should pay Oakland $40,000. Just like as a coach, if I leave, I have to pay my buyout to Oakland so that I could go take another job. UCLA tried to get Rick Barnes, right? Rick Barnes had a $12 million buyout. Well, UCLA wasn't willing to pay the $12 million to get Rick Barnes, so Rick didn't go there. Well, if Loyola's not willing to pay the $40,000 to Oakland because they want Braden Norris, then Braden can't go. He's got to find some place that will.
This is how
that's
it's
my
done in the
answer to
pros.
it.
Yeah,
right.
And this
that's
is
my
how
answer
it's done in the pros. The team that loses the free agent, they're a restricted free agent, and it's a soccer. The team that picks them up pays a transfer fee. So I don't think that's as outlandish as some people might think. That's actually a pretty good idea.
Yeah, it's everybody's laughing at me because they're like nobody's going to do that. Well, that's right, because now you wouldn't just take a transfer. Maybe if you would take Zion Williamson if he was going to transfer, you would pay that for him. But it would limit where kids could go, and it wouldn't, plus it would, we invested that money into a young man. We invested into him, just no different than any other student. There's a thing that goes on. I don't know how it is at your schools, but at Oakland University, not athletes, but just a regular student can get a scholarship. All right. Like maybe an academic scholarship, or, we have one called a presidential scholarship where if their GPA in high school and their test score are so high, they get a $2,000 or $4,000 scholarship. But to keep that scholarship, A, they have to live in the dorm, or B, they have to maintain a 3.0 or higher. So if they go below a 3-point, they lose the scholarship, right? Or if they say, no, I want to live off campus, they lose the scholarship. Well, we give an athletic scholarship, and it's based on athletic talent. Well, if they get here and they're not any good, we're not allowed to take their scholarship. But our school can take somebody's scholarship that gets below a 3.0. So sports has always been different and always will be different. So why these people say it's no different than anybody else, you should be able to do this or that, I disagree with that, because sports have been different in every area that there's ever been.
So, interestingly enough, and this is actually something that's come up recently too. You talked a little bit about the APR and how it's not exactly been a deterrent for transfers, but the NCAA is still handing out those penalties. I mean, Milwaukee got hit with that a few years back, and now most recently it looks like Detroit Mercy might have some issues with the APR on their basketball team. So, it's especially in the case of Detroit, where you have and this new tournament format. I mean, how does that affect if that actually still kind of if that APR ban still kind of comes through? How does that kind of affect? How do you see it affecting the league in general, specifically as it relates to the regular season and, more to the point, the tournament?
Well, our league is still trying to determine how they're going to run their tournament next year, whether it's going to be 10 teams or 8 teams. The meetings have been going on. The coaches have voiced their opinion. The administrators are voicing theirs. And they're trying to come up with what's best for the Horizon League, what's best for moving forward. Mm-hmm. And I do know that, it could be 8 teams or it could be 10. And then there would have to be a contingency if it's 10. Okay, what if Detroit can't play this year and it's 9? What will it look like? And I think Detroit has a very good chance to win their appeal from what I've heard. And I'm by no way am I an insider on it. Mm-hmm. I'm talking just as Joe fan, but from what I've heard, the reason is that, the 2 kids, Ballantyne and Jackson, who left, did not enroll in another college. And the rule reads like this. If they leave your school and enroll in another institution, 4-year institution, it can't be a junior college. Mm-hmm. If they enroll in a 4-year institution and they had above a 2.6 at your place, a 2.6 or above, then you won't lose the point. So as the year, if you're on a semesters, there's 2 semesters. Each kid is valued 4 points. Is he eligible, and is he returning after the winter or the fall semester? So there's 2 points. And then at the end of the season, is he eligible and is he returning? There's 4 points. So if he's not returning, which those 2 kids were not in that, they only got 3 of the 4 points. But if, like James Beck for my team this year, mm-hmm. he's leaving. He's a transfer. So he got both points the first semester. Then the second semester, he only got 1 point because he left, so he's not returning. But because he had above a 2.6, and because he is going to another 4-year institution, he will be a 3 for 3. They'll take that other point and just get rid of it. Uh-huh. So instead of he's 3 for 3, where those 2 kids at Detroit were 3 for 4s. They both ended up, what they did is they both didn't want to lose a year of eligibility, so they both sat out. Mm-hmm. And I know that the Jackson kid for sure, because we were recruiting him, went part-time to a junior college to get the amount of hours to be eligible on a transfer mm-hmm. without a sit-out year. He has to graduate from the junior college. Okay. And if he does that, he has 3 years, and he didn't get charged for the sit-out year. Mm-hmm. So I know he did that, but because he did that and he's at a 4-year institution now, I believe Detroit's going to appeal those 2 kids. Sure. And I think they have a good chance, because the spirit is the rule broken? Yes, but in the spirit of the rule, it's not. So I'm hoping for the league's sake and for Detroit's sake that the NCAA looks at them kindly and allows them to play this year.
Yeah, that whole situation is kind of weird to me. I mean, it's because it would be, especially. I mean, and I'm sure on Detroit Mercy's end, if this is, having this hanging over their heads has to be a killer in terms of recruiting. It just has to be, especially
Yeah,
and really
yeah,
breaks
for
their
sure.
momentum from kind of the surprise year they had last season.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I think, if I were them, I'd be telling people, no, we're appealing this, and we're going to win the appeal, and that, and I really hope they do. But so going back to the question, APR, I think, is going to change. I think no one knew that opening up this transfer portal would do this. And I'm going to tell you a stat I heard, and I do not know if this is true or not, so I'm telling you in advance, but I was told by our softball coaches that, they don't, in softball, you don't have, if you transfer, you could play immediately anywhere else that you transfer.
Huh.
So, I think basketball, baseball, football, maybe the only three sports where if you transfer, you have to sit out a year. All right. So in softball, you can transfer immediately. So it's never been a problem. The average, this is the numbers I was told. You can look them up to find out if they're true or not. I don't know, but I believe it. The average year in softball, there would be 20 transfers. This year, when the portal came available, there's 300 kids in the portal.
Oh, wow.
Whoa.
So even though they've always been able to just go anyway, because of the portal, because a kid doesn't have to go in and talk to their coach, the kid doesn't have to get approval, the kid can do what they want and just go into the portal, it's 10 times fold in women's softball. And so this portal has changed everything, and I think the smart people that run everything are going to look at this, and they're either going to have to change the portal or they're going to have to change the APR, because, APR was put in to keep kids from transferring, to keep schools to not run kids off.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's open season. So they've got something has to be done with APR. And they know it. It's not like know something nobody else does. They all know it. And you got to remember, the NCAA is run by the institutions. I mean, the NCAA is all the institutions combined, so they're all experiencing it themselves, and I think something good will come out of it.
You mentioned earlier how your prime goal is to teach the kids how to grow to become men, and you've mentioned it a couple of times about this transfer portal. They don't have to come see you. And I worry about what that teaches, the kids about what they don't have to, face their mentors, their coaches.
Right.
Not to make it a bad thing, but that's something about growing up, is being able to stand up and explain why you want to, leave, or why you want to do something that may not be popular for somebody else. I feel like maybe the transfer portal could be fine if your players are still required to speak with the coaches, at least to kind of not so the coaches get a chance to change their mind as much as the kid has to have the opportunity to kind of explain why they would like to leave a school.
And I'll say this to you, Jimmy. Yeah. I'm in this business at my age. 30 years ago, I wanted to win. I wanted to win. I wanted to be, king of the world. I wanted to coach the greatest players, have the greatest teams, like everybody else in the business. But after all the years I've been in it, I got all the championship rings I'll ever need. I've got all the winning excitement that I'll ever need. I'm still competitive. I still want to win. But I'm in this business for one reason, and that is to help 18 to 22-year-old kids grow up, become men, and go out into the real world and have success. And I don't care what school you're talking about, only about 1 or 2% of these players make significant money playing basketball. So there's 350 schools. There's at least 10 on every roster. So you're talking about 3,500 to 4,000 kids a year that we're coaching and trying to teach and let them be successful in life. I've gotten a little bit of criticism lately because I've taken some second chance kids. And I really never did that early in my career. I've done it late in my career because I've seen that you can really make a difference. You can help a kid get his degree and have a real life. And some of the kids that we work with come from places that they really didn't have much of a chance to do that. And so when we put in rules that take my effectiveness away to be able to do that, because I can't sit face to face with a kid and explain to him what he's doing and how that's going to affect his life, how that's going to affect the other 10 kids' life on the team, where it can now just be, hey, I'm gone. Thanks, Coach. We'll see you. Yeah, it worries me, and I don't like it.
Thank you.
So before, one of the last things I wanted to ask about, we touched a little bit about kind of the charity work you've done. I know you've actually been talking a little bit about it on Twitter, specifically the Coaches versus Cancer stuff you've been doing, specifically this recently with this event in Las Vegas. Can you tell us a little bit more about kind of that and some of the other things? Because I know you've been, like you said, you've been really active on that front, and it's been, it's definitely one of the more, I would say it's probably one of the things that if you didn't even know anything about Greg Kampe, the basketball player, you definitely know about Greg Kampe, the guy who's, always out, doing something for these charities.
Well, that was the one that's closest to my heart, and you caught me at a kind of a bad time with it too, because my event that I run every other year is this August, and the gentleman who is a very, very close friend of mine is the guy who has he's been in a 7-year battle with cancer, and he has funded my event, and he passed away last week.
Oh,
and so it's been a really, really rough couple of weeks for me. He very close to all our players and around the program, and he had fought such a great battle, and thought we had it won a year ago, and then the last 6 months were really bad. And so, it's a lifelong goal for me to be part of trying to fix this. And like I said earlier, when it hits you close and you're around someone and you see what it does to that person and how it devastates the family and that, it's very motivating. And so Lon Kruger runs the one in Las Vegas, and it's the biggest one. He makes, $500,000 to $1 million a year on his event. I tweeted out about it because I couldn't go to it this year again because the gentleman had passed away, and
sure.
I was involved in that. And then mine is in August, and we'll make $200,000 in 24 hours. And what I do is I'll get myself and 9 other coaches, and we've had the Mount Rushmore of coaches that have come in, and I auction them off. And you get to go to a party with those 10 coaches, and there's only 40 people at the party, and we spend 3 hours in a room with a walking meal, and they sit and you get to talk with Izzo and Calipari and Steve Alford and Rick Barnes and Holtman's done it. I had Raftery, the announcer, last time, and so it's a pretty cool thing. And then we play Oakland Hills the next morning, and you get to play golf, 3 guys with one of the coaches, and then I take the coaches to the cancer center, and they spend time with all the young kids, that have leukemia and things like that. And so it's a very rewarding 24 hours, and we'll turn a check in for $200,000 to the American Cancer Society, and I do it every couple of years, and I get a lot of credit for doing it, but I don't really do anything. It's the coaches that give up their time to come, and the people around me that do all the work, and then I get patted on the back. So it is a really, really good 24 hours though.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it. And obviously, you sounded like you are but one small component of this, but yet obviously, it sounds like the work is the important part.
It is, and I've been very fortunate that I'm in a position where I have a platform that there are people that listen, and so the messages that come out of this platform, you want them to be good messages, and I think beating cancer and finding a cause for cancer is one of the best messages that we could put out there.
You said it's coming up. You're going to be doing it again this August, right?
August 4th and 5th. Dan Wetzel from Yahoo will write an article, and Gary Parrish from CBS will probably put the link out on where people can bid on the auction. And, probably in the beginning of July, we'll really start to focus on that.
Okay. All right.
I'm sure fans are going to want to have a shot at that. So I'm glad that we talked about it so we get a chance to really. Yeah. Hopefully we can get one of our Horizon League fans in there to bid and get a spot in the tournament.
Absolutely.
Play some golf, hang out with some coaches. It'd be pretty good. Sounds like a great event. I know that it looked great the last time. I saw the pictures and everything from it.
Yeah. I run it at a casino, downtown Motor City Casino. And the first year we did it, I had a private room in the casino afterwards, and Roy Williams got on the dice table and kept the dice for about 45 minutes, and everybody there it was so cool to see these people chest bumping with Roy, and it was so cool because they're all making money and laughing and having fun, and it was awesome.
Yeah, Roy Williams, ace crapshooter. Who knew?
Oh, he made people money that night.
All right. Well, Coach, thank you once again for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and we look forward to obviously we look forward to hearing a lot more about the upcoming event in August, and naturally we'll see how you do up this upcoming season.
Well, I think it's going to be a really good year in the Horizon League. I mean, Northern Kentucky, Wright State, UIC, I think are teams that we already know are going to be really good. I think Detroit's going to be better. I think, Milwaukee, from what I understand, has had a really good recruiting year. And, he's a really good coach, and you guys are heading the right direction, especially after, that devastation of losing those 3 kids. So I think Milwaukee's going to be a real surprise team. I think Cleveland State's going to take that next step. I think Dennis is a very good coach also. Appleby's a premier player in the league, and I think he's going to pull a lot of those young guys along with him.
Good, and I hope so. I've been waiting for that for a while.
I really do. I mean, he's really good, Appleby. I mean, he's a hard guard, and in basketball, if you have one guy like that and can rally people, you can get it going and have a good year. The last couple of years in the league, there's been a couple teams that you knew, weren't going to be able to compete, and I don't see that this year. Youngstown, I think Youngstown could be a top 3 team. So, who knows where everybody's going to be, and it's been a few years in our league since it's been like that. So, I think it's going to be an exciting year, and maybe we can get the team to win the championship, get in the NCAA tournament, and win a couple games.
That is our ultimate goal.
Love that, Coach.
That's what we're looking for. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Coach, once again. And, like I said, good luck to you this upcoming season.
I appreciate it. And you guys ever need anything, let me know. I'll do whatever you need.
You bet.
Thanks, Coach. Take care.
All right. My pleasure. See you.
So, that was Coach Kampe. That was what a great interview. I mean, this interview and the one with Scott Garrett. I mean, it's like, just. Yeah, the honesty and the candor was just absolutely amazing.
We appreciate it.
Yeah,
I definitely appreciate it because it's so easy for people who are in the positions that they are.
Yeah,
for them to just kind of just build up a wall and do that whole that put up that face that you expect them to put up for journalists. But Greg Kampe specifically is just always a guy who never really
absolutely.
Talks about. I made sure when I was asking my questions that I didn't want to, point out. I didn't want to bring up Javen Cumberland. I didn't want to bring up specific transfers, and he did it unprompted.
I know.
He was very candid about it, and
he was. That's absolutely.
I think he brings up some pretty big points. I think it's very important for kids to. I mean, it's not court. Where you have to face your accuser or something. You should face the people who have been stewards of your young lives because you should be able to,
Yeah.
You should be able to own up to the decisions that you're making, and you should also have a conversation with them because you owe it to them.
Well,
Coach Kampe talks about how Coach Kampe brings up that maybe the schools who lose the transfers should be compensated by the other schools, and I think that's all well and good. But I think that those coaches should be compensated, but at least in the time for the kid to explain why they want to make that move, why they want to make that decision. I think that, and it may not be comfortable for those kids, but it will be better for them growing as people in the long run if they're able to own their decisions and own their choices and be able to have a conversation with the people that care about them, that have been stewards of their of their young lives, and then move forward on that. So
that's amazing. Well, what's interesting? Well, and and maybe I'm kind of showing my ignorance a little bit, but I didn't realize that I guess I didn't realize myself kind of how this transfer portal kind of operates differently from the way it has previously. I felt like I was kind of ignorant about that. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Hey, all they need to do is put their name in the hopper, and that's the ball game. I didn't realize that there was no.
I didn't know that was all they had to do.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize it either.
I thought the school had to do that.
Yeah.
And I thought the school had. So I'm kind of blown away.
I know. That's crazy. That's a whole new wrinkle that I didn't even and it's amazing that we're just hearing about it. I mean, maybe we were just so wrapped up in our own stuff that we kind of missed this, because it just has been coming up a lot more now.
And there are the occasional ones, like in Wisconsin. Wisconsin didn't want that kid to transfer.
Yeah.
They didn't want that kid to transfer. I think it was to Iowa.
Yeah.
Hold on, literally 1 second. Andy, who was the kid that wanted to transfer out of Wisconsin basketball? He wanted to transfer like Iowa. Was it Bohannon?
I don't remember the kid's name. Crud.
Well, then they got Ben Brust in the same way back to them later.
Yeah.
And that kid did end up going to Iowa. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on it completely as to what the kid was, but yeah, I mean,
I'm sure if you've gotten to this,
I see the transfer portal.
Yeah.
I see the transfer portal as something that was built for kids who don't want to face their coaches, that they can avoid that. And I think that there's a reason for it, but I also think that the kid should be able to make their decision. So a kid who went to Bo Ryan and said he wanted to transfer, not necessarily that kid shouldn't be allowed to transfer. The kid should have been able to speak with Bo Ryan and say, hey, I want to transfer. And even if Bo said, I don't think you should, it turns away from the kid. Now the kid still has to talk to him, but Bo Ryan couldn't stop the kid from. Yeah. Jared Utah, thank you very much. Yeah, Jared Utah was the kid that wanted to transfer.
There you go.
And ended up doing the
I knew he'd get there eventually. But it's crazy. Yeah, it's amazing that. Yeah, it's. I'm glad we had a Coach Kampe on for this, because he's been pretty vocal about the whole situation, regardless. So that's what a good guy to get to talk about this, because he's definitely he got hit by it. Like a ton of bricks with Braden Norris. So yeah.
Well, I just wanted to thank everybody who took the time to listen. I know that college basketball isn't the hottest thing in the middle to end of May. So I wanted to thank everybody for listening to it, and
absolutely.
I hope you continue listening to our podcast all off season.
That's right. We are now in our off season schedule. We got next week. We're on Memorial Day, and probably enjoy the barbecues and all that stuff, and we'll be back again sometime in June. Probably the middle of June. We'll definitely have some things in the hopper for that, so you definitely don't want to miss that. But hey, just as always, if all episodes of the Horizon Roundtable are on horizonroundtable.com.
Yeah.
They're on all podcast apps, except still having some issues with iHeartRadio. I think they're still giving me an attitude, so I'm still working on that, guys. But yeah, Anchor.fm.
But subscribe. That's the easiest way not to miss anything.
Absolutely.
Subscribe to the podcast, and it'll let you know when the new one posts.
You bet. Yes, absolutely, and yes, and it's just as easy as turning on your Amazon Echo device or Google Home device and Yeah, so Jimmy, we're gonna have a good. I'm gonna enjoy my summer. How about you? It sounds like you're already
I'm enjoying
it
my
right
summer
now,
right
man.
now. I'm in the middle. I'm at the tail end of my vacation, so I'm going to get back to that. But thanks everybody for
Yep.
listening, and we'll talk to you all next time.